fiance of my son. And he said, Mr. Fleurant, your son just got shot. And I said, well, yes, you got shot. And the bullet went through his abdomen, and luckily it was fortunate he didn't reach the main organs. So I rushed to Boston, and his brother is basically a doctor, and because of his brother, he was able to save his life. And I think violence is very easy. This is a cancer in this country. And violence destroys youngsters. And the only way to remedy, there's so many programs. I was reading the other day about a program called B2B, Brother to Brothers. It is mentorship, and I think we should focus on that part. And that's one of the reasons I developed this philosophy called Japanism. And I basically developed this philosophy in Paris, and it is reading at the beginning of this book. Japanism is a philosophy of non-violence, of reason, compassion, and conscience. And when I mean conscience, because we, young people, they always struggle between their conscious and their unconscious, subconscious, which is Sigmund Freud. Always put a lot of emphasis on your subconscious. It's like subconscious is basically the tip of the iceberg. Everything you do is based on your subconscious. If I'm talking to you, I'm moving my hand, it's my subconscious. My conscious is only objective, the subconscious is subjective. And basically, a lot of time, people tell you, you cannot do this. And if you digest, and you come to your subconscious, and you begin to your auto-suggestion, that's when you become a big problem. You can do whatever you want to do, there is no bad. That's what I have to say.
I'm thinking to myself, and I'm thinking what Elaine said, and what I do in my life, and what I've done in my life, and that is that understand that you can make a difference, and you can make a difference when you organize, and you understand laws, and you get people to participate in that. You can make a difference on many levels. You can make a difference on the quality of life in your neighborhood, the quality of life in your schools, the quality of life in your dormitory. You have to decide that you want to change something. If there's something that you're dissatisfied about, that you're not happy about, then you can make a difference. Most recently, Dwayne Gregory is my legislator. And 2 years ago, when they redrew the district lines because of the census, they drew a section of my community out of Mr. Gregory's legislative district. And I was told that, don't worry, it's going to be not a problem. But what we felt in our community, I'm the president of the Civic Association, was that that was going to dilute our ability to advocate for our community. It was going to diminish our effectiveness if we had to deal with two legislators, if we had to interface with two different people. First of all, we no longer would have the power or the muscle or the ability to say to one or the other that you need our votes, you need our area. And so people said, well, what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do. Well, we got a lawyer, and we sued in federal court. And the legislature rethought those lines and put us back in Mr. Gregory's legislative district. I say that because we were David and they were Goliath. But in each time that there has been, even in Central State, when demonstrating against the injustices about turning people away for cutting their hair, we students were Davids, and the systems that we were going against were Goliath. So I just want to say to you that anything that you identify, if you think something's not right, and others feel the same way, and you talk about it, and you band together, and you decide that you want to change that this system is not fair, that it discriminates, or it takes away from your quality of life, you can change it. You have to know and believe that you can change it. Martin Luther King, Jr. changed through peaceful demonstrations, okay, with students and people of conscience, the whole direction of the United States and the laws of this country. And so our point to you today, or my point to you today, is to just say to you, you decide, you then develop a plan, and you can change it, even when it seems to be the biggest difficulty and the largest, the highest mountain in the world. And it's the same with anything that you do. Anything that you do, if you decide that you want to do this, that you want to accomplish this. You know, when I tell you I went away to school, I was the third kid of my family in school in college. So my father said he didn't have any real money for me to be there. He didn't think I was his brightest student anyway. You know, I was the baby. So he said I could go away for a year. So I decided I was going to do so well that if he took me out of that school, it'd be on him. And I graduated with bachelor's degree, undergrad, in 3.5 years. Unheard of. I went in January and walked with everybody else when they graduated that May, you know, the 4-year students. Because I said, first of all, they weren't leaving me, and second of all, I knew I couldn't afford to mess up. I couldn't afford to take a BS course, basket weaving for that A. I couldn't afford to do any of that. And so you can do anything you put your mind to, even finishing school in 3.5 years, you know. Graduate school took me a little longer, but, you know, that's the message I really want to just impart on you, that you can change a system, and systems have been changed. Well, the one last thing I want to say to you, you can't change things without knowing history. I sued the Suffolk County Legislature based on the 1965 Voting Rights Act. If I didn't know that historically, I wouldn't have been able to do that, okay? Which said it diminished our effectiveness and our ability to advocate for ourselves. Sanford, Florida, where the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman trial was. If you watch the movie 42, it was in Sanford, Florida, that Jackie Robinson was denied, was cattle calls, you know, he was abused. They did not want to accept him there when he went down to Florida for training. Understand historically where places are, what's happened there, and history, and it will help you to go forward. So you have to know where you came from to know where you're headed. Okay.
Let me ask you a question, and then I'll make some comments about it. How many of you know exactly what you want to do? Raise your hand. Okay. I just want to say to you that's okay, for those of you who do not know. What I would like, because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, as you can see, I feel a lot of things. But it's important for you, and this is not the to prepare yourselves to be a productive global citizen. It is so important for you in particular to know that you are going to be living in a global society, more so than we did when we were preparing ourselves. So whatever you decide to do, think ahead and say, how can I fit this into my role as a productive citizen in this global society? When I did my dissertation, my focus was on the fact that there were fewer than 1% of African Americans in international grassroots development in Latin America and the Caribbean. If you look, and it didn't include the military, whatever you decide to do, whether it's economics, medicine, healthcare, political development, whatever, you should think in terms of getting some global, and this is my focus, that's why I say you should, getting some global experience. While you're in college, look everywhere around you where there are grants and exchange programs and funding to study or travel as an exchange student somewhere. If not as an exchange student, it could be later when you're out of college, as I was. When I was working here at Farmingdale, it was my opportunity when I was given the scholarship to study and be Kellogg Fellow in International Development. It's because I was looking for these things. These were I was passionate about international stuff. So I wanted to read and see everywhere there was a notice anywhere that said you can apply for. It was in your area and it's something you have passion for, apply for. You may not get it the first time. But I was fortunate enough to get the Kellogg Fellowship in International Development to study in Latin America and the Caribbean, to not only study, but to work on projects in international development. So you're working with people, you're learning, you understand that the more you can get without having to pay for it, the better you're going to be when you come back home. Now, it doesn't matter if it's economics or whatever. Use that skill to help someone else, somewhere else. Because when you come back, that skill will be experience on your resume. It's experience. For instance, Dr. Henry sitting there. Dr. Henry is an expert in healthcare as a registered nurse and other things. She went to a Caribbean country to share that expertise in gerontology, to help that government as a volunteer prepare others to train and work with the elders. So you can always, it depends on your passion again, whatever it is you like or learn or get your degree in, you can turn it into something that you can use internationally for a short period of time or a long period of time for experience. We were able to bring students here to participate in government, to see what our government is like. You can go other places to see what their government is like. But my point is to prepare yourself, because my dissertation indicates with the people, the few African Americans I was able to interview, I asked them, did you prepare for international development? Oh no, what was your degree in? My degree was in literature, my degree was in economics or whatever. Well, how did you get involved as a person in international affairs? I joined a Peace Corps. Miss Sandy's daughter went to SUNY campus college for her degree. She's a Peace Corps person. She worked at the UN for a short period of time. That's another place you can volunteer in international organizations to get that experience. I now have a lot of experience that I've gained from being at the United Nations over a period of time, because there you're going to meet everyone from everywhere. So my point is, regardless, and I'm going to leave you with a few little words, a statement, so to speak. My thing is to do whatever you do, step by step. That's my life motto, step by step. Think about what you've done and what you want to do every time you make a step. And whatever or wherever you land, you are supposed to be if you follow your heart. Because when you get